The streets of Oklahoma have seen everything: fire, crashes, heartbreak, and legends born under midnight lights. But what if I told you that behind Street Outlaws' biggest star was a secret list of enemies? For years, Daddy Dave was the man everyone respected: fearless, loyal, and fast enough to make even the bravest think twice before lining up next to him. Fans saw the confidence, the victories, the grin behind the wheel. What they didn't see were the lies, the rivalries, and the 5 names that haunted him when the cameras stopped rolling. Whispers of broken friendships, backroom deals gone wrong, betrayals that cut deeper than wrecks at 200 miles an hour. Dave never talked about it, not on camera, not in interviews. But recently, something changed. He's finally opening up about the 5 people he hated the most in the world of Street Outlaws. And trust me, once you hear these names, you'll never look at Oklahoma's street racing brotherhood the same way again. Because in this world, enemies aren't just rivals. Sometimes, they're the people you once called family. And it all started with the man he once called his brother. Number 1, Big Chief. If you ask anyone who built the Oklahoma crew from the ground up, one name always comes first: Big Chief, the face of Street Outlaws, the voice that brought underground racing into living rooms across America. To fans, he was a hero. To Daddy Dave, he was more than that: he was family. In the early days, Chief and Dave were unstoppable. Chief had the vision, Dave had the fire, and together they ruled the list. Every late-night run, every victory, every risk, they shared it all. Chief was the strategist, the leader, the hammer that hit hardest when the pressure was on. Their chemistry was real until fame turned it into friction. As the cameras rolled, the balance shifted. Chief wasn't just a racer anymore, he was a brand. His word carried weight, and his decisions shaped the entire Oklahoma racing family. Dave respected that at first, but over time, those decisions started cutting deeper. Race orders changed, storylines favored others, and suddenly Dave, the man who'd risked his life for the crew, began to feel like a supporting act in someone else's movie. Behind the scenes, tension brewed. Chief wanted control of the list, the cars, the spotlight. Dave just wanted fairness. But in a world where egos burn hotter than engines, fairness doesn't last long. The cracks widened when whispers spread that Chief was cashing in more than the rest. Sponsors, appearances, even TV time, all of it seemed to orbit around him. And for the first time, Dave started to question if this was still about racing or about control. The breaking point came quietly: a heated argument, a few words too sharp to take back, and years of brotherhood burned away in a single night. Chief stepped down, rumors flew, and Oklahoma's street empire was left fractured. Fans speculated, crews divided, and through it all, Daddy Dave stayed silent, but he never forgot. Because for him, this wasn't just a friend walking away. It was betrayal, the kind that doesn't happen with a knife, but with silence, pride, and ego. Big Chief had been his mentor, his brother, his leader, until power turned them into rivals. And that's why his name sits at the top of the list: the first betrayal, the one that hurt the most. But the streets weren't done testing Dave yet, because next came someone even closer. Number 2, Sean Ellington. When Big Chief walked away, everyone thought Daddy Dave would finally take the crown. But what happened next, no one saw coming. The man who stepped into Chief's shoes wasn't an enemy, it was Sean Ellington, better known as Murder Nova, a friend, a brother. The guy Dave trusted with his life when the stakes were high and the streets were colder than steel. In the beginning, their bond was unbreakable: late-night test hits, burned knuckles, oil-stained laughter under garage lights. They weren't just racers, they were family. But as Street Outlaws exploded in fame, that brotherhood started to feel like competition. Because when cameras show up, someone has to be the hero, and someone gets painted as the problem. When Sean took charge after Chief's exit, the dynamic changed overnight. Suddenly, the call-outs, the race orders, even the storylines all ran through him. Dave, who had bled for the Oklahoma crew, started getting boxed in, labeled, shaped into a version of himself that fit the TV narrative: the rebel, the hothead, the man who never played by the rules. It wasn't who he was, it was who they wanted him to be. But here's the thing about Daddy Dave: he doesn't fake anything. And the more the show tried to control him, the more he pushed back. Tension turned to silence. Silence turned to distance. And that's when the real cracks began to show. Behind the cameras, friends turned cautious. Words were measured. The same garage that once echoed with laughter now carried the weight of unspoken resentment. Dave didn't hate Sean, he hated what fame had turned them into. Brothers once fueled by loyalty, now divided by control, contracts, and competition. The Oklahoma Street Kings had always been about respect, but when leadership changes, so do loyalties. And for Dave, that was the moment it hit him. The streets don't always betray you with enemies. Sometimes, it's the people you'd take a bullet for. And his next rival? He was about to find out that even best friends can become your biggest threat. Number 3, Ryan Martin. If you've ever seen two legends line up side by side, you know that silence before the green light, that moment when the whole world holds its breath. That's what it was like when Daddy Dave faced Ryan Martin. Two friends, two kings of Oklahoma's asphalt empire. One road. To fans, it looked like respect, two titans pushing each other to greatness. But behind the cameras, it was war disguised as brotherhood. Dave and Ryan started as allies. They tuned each other's cars, shared secrets, and pushed the Oklahoma crew to the top. Ryan was calm, calculated, obsessed with perfection. Dave was pure instinct, no data, no computers, just raw gut and fire. Together, they made Street Outlaws unstoppable. But the streets don't stay loyal for long. As the show blew up, so did the rivalry. Ryan's quiet consistency started stealing the spotlight. Suddenly, every camera followed him. Every headline said his name. And Dave, the man who had built Oklahoma's racing brotherhood with his own sweat and scars, started fading into the background. At first, he told himself it didn't matter. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing asphalt. But then came the interviews, the promotions, the subtle shift where Ryan became the face of Oklahoma racing. And every time Dave looked around, the same question echoed in his head. Did I just get replaced? The tension grew. Friendly rivalries turned cold. On race nights, they'd still shake hands, but it wasn't the same. You could feel it, that tight silence, the forced smiles, the unspoken truth that they weren't just racing anymore. They were defending legacies. And the worst part? When controversy hit, when rumors and online hate aimed at Dave, Ryan stayed silent. No defense, no support, just that cold, careful distance. To Dave, that silence said everything, because real loyalty doesn't stay quiet when your brother's name is being dragged through the mud. That's when respect turned into resentment. Not because Dave hated Ryan's success, but because Ryan forgot who helped him rise in the first place. In racing, the finish line doesn't always decide who wins sometimes. It just shows who stood with you when everything burned. And for Daddy Dave, that realization hurt worse than any crash. The next man on his list didn't just challenge his speed, he challenged his pride. Number 4, Kai Kelly. If there's one racer who could make Daddy Dave's blood boil, it was Kai Kelly. From the first time they faced off, you could feel it, the tension, the pride, the quiet hatred wrapped in a handshake. These weren't just two racers battling for bragging rights. This was ego versus legacy. Kai came into Street Outlaws like a storm, young, cocky, and determined to take down anyone wearing an Oklahoma patch. And Dave? He wasn't about to let an outsider come into his world and rewrite the rules. Their rivalry was pure fire from day one. Every time they lined up, the crowd held its breath, because everyone knew something was about to explode. At first, there was mutual respect. Dave admired Kai's grind, his speed, his no-fear attitude. But respect turned to irritation fast when Kai started talking interviews, call-outs, and sly comments about Dave falling behind. It wasn't just trash talk. It was personal. The producers loved it, of course. Two alpha racers locked in a feud made for great television. But for Dave, this wasn't TV, this was his life, his name, his reputation. So when Kai beat him in a controversial run, one that still sparks debates to this day, and then laughed about it on camera, that was the moment Dave's respect evaporated. He wasn't mad about losing. He was mad about how it went down, the showmanship, the arrogance, the way Kai turned their rivalry into a performance for the cameras instead of a test of skill. To Dave, that wasn't racing, that was selling out. From then on, every time Kai's name came up, Dave's eyes told the story. The silent frustration of a man watching the sport he built turn into a spectacle. He didn't say it out loud, but everyone around him knew. Key wasn't just competition. He was a symbol of everything Dave hated about what street outlaws had become: loud, scripted, and disconnected from the streets that made them. And the truth? Kai was good, really good. But sometimes, being good isn't enough, because in racing, there's a line you don't cross, and Kai crossed it when he made it personal. For Daddy Dave, that's why Kai's name burns on his list. Not because of one race, but because he represented the betrayal of what street racing used to be: respect, loyalty, and heart. But Dave's story doesn't end with rivals. Because the final name on his list wasn't just another racer, it was someone he once called a true friend. Number 5. Jeff Lutz. You can forgive a rival, you can even forgive an enemy, but when a friend becomes part of the problem, that's the kind of pain that never fades. For Daddy Dave, that friend was Jeff Lutz, the last person he ever expected to end up on his list. Jeff wasn't just another racer. He was old school, a craftsman, a family man, and one of the few who still cared about building fast cars the right way. Dave saw himself in him, two veterans who had clawed their way from nothing, bonded by respect and pure love for the street. When Jeff joined the Oklahoma crew full-time, it felt like balance had returned. Finally, someone who got it. Someone who cared about loyalty over fame. But fame doesn't play fair. The more the show grew, the more the dynamic shifted. Suddenly, Jeff was everywhere, the face of the garage, the easygoing favorite everyone loved. Producers wanted him front and center, sponsors lined up, and fans couldn't get enough of his charm. Meanwhile, Dave, the man who had been the backbone of Oklahoma's street legacy since day one, started feeling like an afterthought. It wasn't jealousy, it was disbelief, because the man who once stood beside him was now playing a different game, one where cameras mattered more than code. At first, Dave ignored it. He told himself it was just business. But little moments started to sting: a promise to help tune a car that never happened, a race that felt too convenient, conversations that stopped the moment Dave walked up. He could feel it, that slow, quiet shift that happens before a storm. And when the storm hit, it hit hard. A race that was supposed to be friendly, two veterans showing the world how it's done, turned into something colder. The tension, the smiles that didn't reach their eyes, the way Jeff brushed it off after. Dave didn't see a friend across the line that night. He saw a stranger wearing a familiar face. What hurt most wasn't the race. It was the realization that Jeff had started to play the same game as everyone else. The man who once preached loyalty was now chasing the same fame machine that had torn the Oklahoma Brotherhood apart. And for Dave, that was the final cut. Not because Jeff betrayed him publicly, but because he did it quietly. The kind of betrayal that doesn't make headlines, it just eats at your soul. That's why Jeff Lutz's name sits at the bottom of the list, not because Dave hates him, but because he misses who he used to be. The friend who built engines, not storylines. The racer who lived for respect, not recognition. And in that moment, Dave finally understood the truth about street outlaws. Sometimes, it's not the wrecks or losses that break you. It's watching the people you trusted the most drift away. Because in the end, the streets don't betray you. 5 names, 5 scars. And one truth that never changes: loyalty doesn't live forever on the streets. For Daddy Dave, every betrayal told a story. Big Chief's silence, Sean's distance, Ryan's rise, Kai's arrogance, and Lutz's quiet shift from brother to rival. Each one taught him that fame fades, but scars don't. And when the lights go out and the cameras stop rolling, there's only one thing that still matters: respect. Because at the end of the day, street racing isn't about who's faster, it's about who's real. And Dave? He's still standing, still racing, still proving that no amount of betrayal can outrun heart. If you've been part of the Street Outlaws journey, if you've felt the adrenaline, the loyalty, the heartbreak, then hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, share it with every Street Outlaws fan you know, and stay tuned, because the streets of Oklahoma still have a lot more secrets left to reveal.